law as it is written works. What doesn't work is those upholding the law, from cops to lawyers to judges, who don't know the law. So let's talk about why or when the law doesn't work. And there's a lot of reasons, and it's not as simple as saying, my lawyer said that, and he's famous. My lawyer's famous for prosecuting cops who break the law. So, why don't cops know the law? Why don't lawyers know the law? Why don't judges know the law? A couple of quick, easy points is, I shouldn't say easy, some quick points are, there are so many laws written by the government, and sometimes instead of deleting a law, they'll write another law. And some laws we already have, and sometimes those laws are duplicated unnecessarily because we already have that law written in a different place in law. And like the right to self-defense is one that's written in different ways in different places in the criminal code that allows Canadians and other nations to defend themselves. Though that reminds me, that's a good point, is that there is a difference between how the law is written and how it's applied. So instead of writing, it seems like, instead of writing more laws, often it just might be best to either delete a law or change how it's applied. That means requiring a change in the culture, where the culture has pushed for self-defense to be criminally prosecuted when in fact it is allowable in law. So that's one complexity why a lot of people don't know the law. There's just so many laws, and often they're duplicated or added to or amended sometimes written almost identically with some small changes. And so that's one reason why cops, lawyers, judges don't know the law, often don't know the law. I find the best lawyers and the best judges I've seen judges pause the court to take a minute to research the law, to look it up in the book, either in paper form or in electronic form. And to research the law, because there's so many laws, so complicated. That's one reason why. Another is they just don't study the law. requiring subject matter experts. That's why it's important to find a lawyer that specializes in a certain area of law. And for the same reason, there's judges who specialize in certain areas of law, such as in Edmonton. One of them I'm familiar with is Anderson. I don't remember his first name or last name, though he used to. Anderson used to be, about 2018, Anderson was the chief criminal circuit judge. So he overseen all the criminal cases and all the criminal judges, the judges that specialized in. He was the boss of all the judges that specialized in criminal law. And so it's impossible for a cop, lawyer, or judge to know all the different aspects, all the different laws, all the nuances. Why did I bring this up? Well, all the talk about Alberta law. And so that's why there's constitutional lawyers who specialize in the Constitution. Now I'll bring this up. The referendum, there's a lot of talk in Alberta about Alberta separation and the referendum, or other states or provinces who have had, or countries, some countries regularly have referendums. Some US states like California. California is a state that often has referendums. I don't know the exact frequency, where or how it's written in law, though Daniel Smith said that Alberta referendums will now be more in line with California referendums, because they have them all the time. I don't know how often, I don't know when, I don't know how. Though what I do know is that despite Californians or citizens of California having the right to have questions addressed in law, Californians, even though they get to have their say in a referendum often on a regular basis, Californians are escaping in droves. So the way I see that, what it means to me is that a referendum in Alberta won't change much. It might improve some things, though. What I hear Daniel Smith saying is that many Albertans won't be happy with any referendum on both sides of the political spectrum. Doesn't matter what the question is, doesn't matter what political strife. Many Albertans won't be happy. And in years, what that tells me is, in many years to come, like Like different provinces, citizens of different provinces are escaping Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba. To come to Alberta in years to come for any number of reasons. Many Albertans will be escaping Alberta in droves because our voices won't be heard by referendum. It seems we need, and I agree with Chief Big Bear of Frog Lake, Alberta, of the Prairie War, we should not be fighting the Queen with guns, but we should be fighting her with her own laws. And it seems to me what that means is we need people who will study the law, to fight for our rights in law. Now, some people, and I should have started with the harsh, difficult subject of, many people believe that the law doesn't matter, that the law doesn't work, that the law should be rewritten, that and the government should be abolished, and some people believe that the government doesn't work and that it's all fake. I'm gonna say this. Robin Hood fought to give us our human rights in the Magna Carta. King John seems to have delayed the fighting by writing the Magna Carta. One of the rules or laws in the Magna Carta called for the removal of the Sheriff of Nottingham. You all know the Robin Hood story. And King John wrote the laws. Actually wrote the Magna Carta. King John actually wrote the Magna Carta. And one of the sections of the Magna Carta called for the removal of the Sheriff of Nottingham. And after the Magna Carta was written, the Sheriff of Nottingham was never removed from power, which means those laws that were written really weren't effective, or there was no means to uphold those laws from King John, who tried to avoid fighting. And it seems like Queen Victoria, what Chief Big Bear calls the great-grandmother, no matter the laws natives had, the great-grandmother, Queen Victoria, the monarch, ignored those native laws and did whatever they wanted. The monarchy did whatever they wanted. Around the world, this was repeated around the world. Whether Chief Big Bear knew this or not, there's lots of evidence of what's often called gunboat diplomacy. Gunboat diplomacy means we don't care about your laws, what you want, what your rules are, what you need. We're going to take what we want, and if you don't give it to us, we're going to turn our ships broadside and you'll give it to us. And we'll fire all our guns until you give us what we want. That's what gunboat diplomacy means. No matter the local laws. And Chief Big Bear's friends and family faced the monarch rule by Queen Victoria since the early 1800s, and by the late 1800s, Chief Big Bear seen what it did to his friends and family through, and the monarch reign ruled for centuries before or decades before Queen Victoria, though Queen Victoria started the Prairie War. And so what that means to me is no matter what's written in law, we have to fight the Queen with her own laws. If I want something for veterans, I have to fight the Queen with the Queen's laws. Because no matter what's written in law, Chief Big Bear and his friends and family have fought the Queen for decades. Queen Victoria and the monarch before Queen Victoria. And so after hundreds of years, Chief Big Bear realized the only way to fight the Queen is with her own laws. So we need somebody to specialize in certain areas of law to fight for our rights. And to stop different actions by the government. Chief Big Bear had no recourse. He couldn't stop the Queen's biggest guns. Chief Big Bear could not stop the Queen's biggest guns. And so, how are we going to stop the Queen's biggest guns? It seems we have to study the law. I agree with Chief Big Bear. The Queen's guns ruled half the world. The sun never set on the Queen's monarchy. We need lawyers who are going to specialize in in the press, in human rights, in the charter, and if you think, I'm sorry, if you think the laws don't apply to you, the world lost to the monarch no matter the laws they had. That's a grave painting gunboat diplomacy. I should seems we need lawyers who specialize in gunboat diplomacy. That's really the key, seems to be the key. The good news is we need specialists, special forces lawyers. Special forces lawyers. Lawyers who specialize in specific laws. Like, my lawyer specializes in prosecuting cops that think they can break the law. Cops are not allowed to break the law, neither are judges or lawyers. Some think they can, some think they do. Some do, thinking they can. Some do, thinking they can get away with it. The law applies equally to everybody. The problem is the disconnect between what's written in law and how it's applied. The law as it is written works. What doesn't work is those upholding the law, from cops to lawyers to judges, who don't know the law. What did you love most about this video? Comment down below.